The St. Louis Blues have won 9 games in a row and are getting hot at the perfect time to secure second place in the Central Division. We'll take a look at their current streak and what they have remaining for the rest of this season as we head into the playoffs. Let's go. Hey everybody, so today we are going to be talking about the St. Louis Blues, who are one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now with 9 straight wins and doing it at the perfect time as they have just gotten ahead of Minnesota for that second spot in the Central Division, and it looks like it's going to be a battle between the Wild and the Blues the rest of the way as far as who's going to be able to get that home ice in the first round. So today, we're going to take a look at what the Blues have been able to do over this streak, look at the teams that they've beaten, how well they've been playing, and then look ahead to their remaining schedule, see what's left for St. Louis, and take a look and see if this is a team that is going to be able to secure that second spot and get that home ice in round number 1. So let's get into it here, taking a look at the Blues' past few weeks of action here as they have done a tremendous job in the month of April. The St. Louis Blues have not lost a game in regulation in April. Their one loss came back on April 1st against the Edmonton Oilers, and that was an overtime loss. They were still able to get a point out of it, and since then, it has been a very, very strong stretch for St. Louis. So if we look here, this streak extends all the way back to April 2nd, where they beat Calgary 6-4. They've beaten Arizona, Seattle, Minnesota in overtime, the Islanders, the Bruins, the Sabres, Minnesota again in overtime, and then most recently Nashville on the 17th. So looking back at these past few weeks of games and what has put this streak together for the Blues, they've done a really good job of just beating all different kinds of teams. They've beaten the teams that they should be beating, like Seattle and Arizona. They've also won some very difficult games against good, tough opponents like Calgary, Minnesota, Boston, for example. So they're beating everybody. It's not like they're beating up on bad teams or they're losing to bad teams but beating good teams. They're finding a way to get the job done against everybody, no matter who their opponent is. The other big thing is that a lot of these wins haven't just been wins, but they have been convincing wins for the St. Louis Blues. They beat Arizona 5-1. They beat Seattle 4-1. They beat the Islanders 6-1. They beat St. Louis 6-2. They beat Nashville 8-3. It's not like they're going in there and squeaking out 1-goal wins. They're hammering a lot of these opponents and really showing that they're not just the better team, but they're a dominant team right now in the NHL. And obviously, they've had some close games. The two games against Minnesota both went to overtime, but Minnesota's a high-quality opponent and a team that is fighting right along tooth and nail with St. Louis for positioning for the playoffs. So, those are big wins. You're probably not going to blow Minnesota out. Being able to get the wins in those is impressive. Calgary, that's an impressive win. Boston, they beat by 2. That's an impressive win. St. Louis is really, really firing right now. The other thing is their just total offensive output is insane. I mean, look at the month of April for them, and we're not even going back into the March. Just look at the month of April as far as goal output for the St. Louis Blues. In the game that they lost in overtime against Edmonton, they still scored 5 goals. They scored 6 against Calgary, 5 against Arizona, 4 against Seattle, 4 against Minnesota, 6 against the Islanders, 4 against Boston, 6 against Buffalo, 6 against Minnesota the second time, and they just put up an 8 spot on Nashville this past Sunday. So this team is an offensive juggernaut as well. They're one of the top offensive teams in the NHL, and that's kind of a new direction for the St. Louis Blues. It's not that often throughout, their history, or certainly not the last few years, that you think of the St. Louis Blues as an offensive juggernaut, but they have been this year. They're scoring a ton of goals, and that's really been what's led them to this winning streak and what's they've been able to do this season overall. It's been a very offensive season for the St. Louis Blues. But overall here, just a very, very impressive stretch for St. Louis. And if we look at what that's done for them in the standings here, Western Conference standings right now, St. Louis has moved past Minnesota up into second place in the Central Division with 102 points, 1 point ahead of the Minnesota Wild. However, Minnesota does have a game in hand, but Blues right now would have home ice. And this is looking like it is going to be the first round series because obviously Colorado has already clinched. They're the top team. And Nashville and Dallas down at 91 points are not going to be catching St. Louis or Minnesota. So it's going to be Blues versus Wild in the first round. The big question left is who gets home ice. Which one is going to finish second? Which one is going to finish third? Right now, it's slight advantage to the Blues in that second spot right now. Also, important thing of note, regulation wins, which is the first tiebreaker if these teams happen to tie in points. Huge advantage to St. Louis. 41 regulation wins for the Blues, only 33 for the Wild. So if they were to happen to tie in points, St. Louis would get the tiebreaker. St. Louis would finish second and get home ice. So the Blues are kind of sitting in a really good spot right now and also happen to be playing their best hockey of the season, which makes it even better. So now let's take a look at the remaining schedule here for St. Louis, who have 6 games left in the season. They've got a tough one at home against the Boston Bruins here tonight. That's going to be tonight's game. Bruins, obviously, they got some guys out of the lineup. No Lindholm, no Pastrnak. Ullmark is still hurt. So Boston's down a couple key guys, but they're still going to give the Blues a tough matchup, I believe. You know, Boston's coming off a big win over Pittsburgh without any of those guys that I just mentioned. However, the Blues just beat the Bruins last week. Literally a week ago on the 12th, they beat the Bruins 4-2 in Boston. So, you know, that's going to be overall, that's one of the tougher games left on the schedule for the Blues, because after that, they go to the at San Jose against the Sharks. Sharks are a non-playoff team. Blues should be able to handle that one. At Arizona, again, you know, Arizona's the bottom team in the NHL right now. That's one that the Blues should handle. They got the Anaheim Ducks, another non-playoff team. So there's a stretch right there on the road where the Blues should really be able to keep racking up some wins. Then they have to go to Colorado. Obviously, that's a very difficult matchup, particularly in Colorado, where the Avalanche have put up an insanely good record this year. And then they close out the season back at home against Vegas. And we don't know yet if that Vegas game is really going to mean anything. You know, whether Vegas will be still fighting for a playoff spot or not at that point. If the Blues haven't maybe clinched over Minnesota yet, if there's still that spot up for grabs as far as who finishes second or third, or maybe it's determined by that point. Again, we have no idea if this is going to be a meaningful game against Vegas yet or not at the end of the year. But nonetheless, St. Louis is clearly the better team than the Golden Knights this year. So in all, this isn't that difficult of a schedule for St. Louis the rest of the way. So when we go back to the standings here, they've got 6 games to go. They've got a 1-point lead on Minnesota right now. I mean, it's not that difficult of a schedule for the Blues, again, who also have won 9 in a row, are playing great right now. I think there's a good shot St. Louis might be able to take that and hold that second spot ahead of Minnesota. Quickly, if we can take a look at Minnesota's remaining schedule here and see what the Wild have left remaining. They have 1 more game to go. They have 7 remaining. They're at Montreal tonight. That's a winnable game for Minnesota. Then they've got Vancouver and Seattle back-to-back at home. They're at Nashville on the 24th. Then they've got Arizona, and they close it out with a tough couple of games against Calgary and Colorado. And again, we don't know yet how meaningful those last couple of games are going to be for the Minnesota Wild. But, you know, that's a tough couple of matchups to close out the season. However, their schedule before that isn't all that difficult either. So I would say Minnesota and St. Louis have pretty comparable schedules the rest of the way. As far as overall difficulty goes, Minnesota does have 1 more game remaining, and obviously there's 1 point separating them in the standings right now. So this is going to be a very, very tight race, I think, for that second spot, down to the wire, down to the end of the season, or at least within the last week of the season. St. Louis, playing great right now, have put themselves in a good spot to secure that home ice for that first round series against the Wild. So all in all, the St. Louis Blues, they're playing their best hockey of the season right now, and they have picked a great time to do it. 9-0-1 in their last 10 games, 9 straight in the win column, and they're trying to extend that to 10 here tonight against the Boston Bruins on home ice. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Blues can secure that second spot, or if Minnesota is able to put up a fight right till the end. It's going to be a fun race, and it's pretty much for certain now that those two teams will be meeting in round 1 of the playoffs. It's just a matter of who gets that home ice advantage and who's going to be starting the series on the road. But it should be a great battle either way. And congratulations to the Blues on the way that they're playing. Obviously, you want to play your best hockey at the end of the year going into the playoffs, and St. Louis has certainly been able to do that right now. So I know fans of the Blues have got to be very, very happy with what has happened here in the month of April. So that's what I've got on the St. Louis Blues and their 9-game winning streak, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys soon.